Okay, so here we are. Is it Emanuela or is it Manuela?
Emanuela.
Emanuela. Okay, so I won't get that wrong. Emanuela. And I think
Don't you
Nikki
get it
introduced us, right? She connected
Yes.
us. Yeah, I love Nikki. I'm always doing stuff with her, and yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
But
she really
I
is.
thought, I talk to a lot of, I've had, health and wellness people on, and I've had a guy who owns a chain of stores out in the Midwest that sell, natural, what's the word? Naturopathy products, natural
Mhm.
products. But I thought it was unique, not only your story, which we're going to get into, but also you work with pets too. You don't just work with people, which I find unique. And we
Yes.
all have pets who have stomach problems, who have this, who have that. That my dog itches all. Of course, she's 13 and blind, but she's always got itches. She's got like skin problems. It's crazy. So I want to hear the story as to how you got into that and how you do that. But maybe we go back to the beginning of your career and your training and kind of what your path was to get to, because that's what I usually do on the podcast. So let's get through the whole. Who is Emanuela?
I'm going to share everything with you. And
Here we
I'm
go.
really, really happy to be here with you.
Good. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so
On this
much.
snowy Friday.
It's not that bad, thank God, in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I know. It all kind of went away. I just was outside. Yeah, not so
Mm-hmm.
bad. So,
Okay. So how did dog IBS and then eventually Embody Vitality come to be? Well, that really stemmed from my dog, Sonny. He
okay.
was my pride and joy. He actually passed away 3 years ago next month. And he really was my muse. He literally taught me how to naturally heal the body. And it started with his IBS. So,
Okay. Which is irritable
in
bowel syndrome. We all have stomach problems,
exactly,
as they say.
yes,
Now, if I
irritable
remember
bowel.
right, Sonny was a Saint Bernard, a big dog, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
huge dog, 125 pounds.
Yeah, I love Saint Bernards.
He was beautiful. He
Yeah.
really was. People would literally come down my block just to see him.
Yeah.
And the kids used to flock to him.
Yeah. Yeah. They're big teddy bears.
Yeah, he really did.
So,
He brought a lot of joy into my life, and I was blessed to have him for 9
yeah.
years. So, and I really feel that in healing his irritable bowel syndrome, I was able to have another 5 years with him, because starting from when he was a puppy, and just going a little bit before that,
Yeah.
getting into that, I was a recruiter in the finance industry for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I still dabble in it a little bit, but I was a recruiter for MetLife, and then it
So
streamed off.
salespeople, insurance people,
Yes.
investment people, the whole 9 yards.
Yes. I
Okay.
was
Yeah. I'm
recruiting
very
financial
familiar with it.
advisors,
Okay.
life insurance,
Right.
wealth management. Then with the same general agent, I went to another company, and I was with him for 15 years. So I really loved what I did. But over the years, and I think more so as the industry kind of changed in like around maybe 2016, 17, I started to lose my passion for it.
Yeah. A little burnout,
So
maybe.
little
Quite a
burnout,
long time.
definitely hard to find people who have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
And again, listen, people have families, and it whatever suits them is totally
Right.
fine. But I was really getting a little bit burnt out. So, and I was trying to really figure out, what did I want to do with my life? I've been doing this for over 20 years. What could I possibly do in my mid 40s that would spark the passion in me again?
Yeah. It's hard to do when you hit your
And
40s and 50s, right? It's like, what am I going to
totally
do? How can I change what I'm doing? But I'm not happy. And I think
right.
the pandemic kind of woke some people up to make some decisions. But yeah, definitely. I don't know
Absolutely.
if midlife crisis is the right word, but you get at this point in your life, right, where you're just doing the same thing all over again. You don't want to do it for the rest of your life. You don't have the passion for it anymore. And I know I work in the business. My father was in the life insurance business in 65. So I know that industry. And yeah, you could really get burned out, and it becomes a revolving door, people coming and going and all that stuff. So I got to hand it to you for, making a change, or even looking for what really
Thank
could,
you.
give you
Thank you.
passion. So
Absolutely. And for me, I called it not so much a midlife crisis, but for me, it was an awakening.
yeah,
It
that's a
really
good
was.
term, right?
It was scary because
Yeah.
obviously, I'm
What do you
branching
do, right?
off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in my mid 40s, I came across an opportunity, whereas I went independent as a recruiter.
Okay.
And I had great luck with that because a lot of companies wanted me. And because of the fact that I was always a captive recruiter, I was never able to work with other companies.
So
So
before that, you were
now,
kind of like in an agency for MetLife. It
yeah,
was only MetLife recruiting. Okay.
MetLife, then National Life.
Oh, sure. National Life
Same
of
GA
Vermont.
though.
Right.
Yeah, same
Oh,
GO.
he switched.
GA. He switched over.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
and he was an amazing mentor for me. All
Okay.
those years taught me and made me into they used to call me a tiger with recruiting. So he definitely made me into what I was. But
Okay.
then fast forward, I just did not find passion in it anymore. And then I got my dog Sonny in 2010.
Oh, so that was
And he,
after. Oh no, you said 2016. You were kind of burned
yeah,
out,
he was
right? So you
sick.
had the dog
Yeah.
already. Okay.
Oh, I already had the dog. He was,
Yeah.
yeah, in 2010. I got him when he was about a month and a half old.
Yeah.
So, but he had stomach issues from the get-go.
Yeah. Dogs do. I don't
And
know what it is. The little ones
it's
have
the
different
commercial
problems than
dog
the big
food.
son. Yeah, I'm sure it has a lot to do with it, right?
It is absolutely
Yeah, even the good stuff, even the
100%.
stuff that's like more, less sodium and more fresh, it's still coming off of a machine or in a factory, right? I mean,
It's still processed.
yeah. I mean, we're not going out for filet mignon, taking our dogs to a restaurant. So
Right. It's still processed. You don't know how long it's been sitting there. It's got synthetically made chemicals
preservatives, right, to make it last
and
long. Sure.
preservatives. And it doesn't really have, when I outline to people, this is the ingredients in your dog's dog food. In red are all the things that are not real food.
Yeah.
Literally
There's nothing
anything that's
left.
left there's
Right.
nothing left. There's
Right.
nothing left.
Yeah.
So I try to educate people.
Yeah.
And 2 years, he was 2 years old, always diarrhea, constant
Yeah.
diarrhea. I would bring him to the vet. He would be on metrazole or flagyl or something to
And
stop
you
the
just gave
diarrhea.
him dog food. Like it wasn't like you were
Yeah.
feeding him crap on the table and human
No,
food, he's getting diarrhea and
no.
ice cream and stuff, right?
Yeah, I won't
Yeah.
mention the dog foods,
No.
but we don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
But he was on all these different commercial dog foods.
Yeah.
And I literally was trying my best to figure out what was going on. And it was driving me nuts. And my vet kept saying to me, it's not the commercial dog food. It's definitely something in his body. The commercial dog food is the most balanced that you can get. It's got vitamins and all that. And I was a believer. My
Right,
vet
sure.
could never do any wrong.
Right.
And then finally, when he was 4, we were playing in the park. He was playing with his canine buddies. We came home. It was July 18th.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that day. I think it was 2004 or 5. And all of a sudden he started panting and he was in distress. And I always kept in my mind, large dogs bloat,
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Right.
The minute I saw that he was panting and crying and whimpering and moving back and forth, I was like, oh my God, let me feel his stomach. And the minute I felt his belly, it was expanded, it was hard. And from his left side, I felt something sticking out. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is going on?
What did he
I
eat?
knew nothing. He just
Nothing?
drank water when he came home.
Oh.
He came home from the
I
park.
thought
He was
canine
hot.
bloats when the dogs get into the cabinet and they eat a whole bag of food, their stomach flips. No,
But it wasn't bloat.
Huh.
His stomach flipped just from the water, just
got
from
it.
drinking
So
water.
it was
too
twisted
fast.
now, right?
It was twisted.
Yeah,
But I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
thought
of
it was
course
bloat
not.
initially. I took him like speed lightning. I was to the emergency room because I knew time was of the essence.
Yeah.
And we got there. They took him in. They said to me, his stomach twisted. We have to take him in for emergency surgery. They took him in 3 hours later. Thank God. I mean, literally, it was, I was bawling, crying my eyes out.
Right.
3 hours later, the surgery was over. They had to remove his spleen.
Yeah.
Because his spleen started to die off.
Because usually because it was
everything twists.
Nice.
Because their stomach, basically, even us, our organs are all attached.
Yeah, they're all hanging
So
there.
because big dogs, their stomachs flop around.
Yeah.
That's why it easily twists.
Yeah.
So they did the surgery. They did the gastropexy procedure, which is that they tacked his stomach to his abdominal wall.
Oh, that's what
So
they do.
they do.
So it doesn't flip anymore.
But yes,
Causes
but
other problems.
it causes colitis, IBS
Ugh.
in a lot of instances. And again,
Right.
it saves his life in one sense, but
Right.
then
Gives
it
them other
really,
problems.
right,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it disrupted the natural flow of his stomach.
Yeah. Makes sense. Sure.
Right. So from that point forward, diarrhea every day, vomiting started, waking up in the middle of the night, pacing the floors, loud gurgling noises, him whimpering. I was giving my dog Gas X.
Yeah.
That immediately
Like
stopped.
Tums, right? Basically.
Yeah, Gas X, because I knew he had gas.
Yeah.
But I knew he couldn't live like this. This was not, because everyone needs acid in your stomach.
Yeah, of course. That's what digests your food.
That's right. So I knew I was, again, stopping the gas, but I was depleting the natural gases in his stomach, and that was creating more havoc. So for 2 years after that, I was lost. I went through so many sleepless nights of figuring out to myself that I was going to lose my dog, because eventually what happened was he started to get blood in his stool.
Yeah. Now his system's breaking down and he's having problems.
Yep. So that's when, again, I took him to the ER for another time. They told me he's got irritable bowel syndrome. I said, what could I do? They were like, there's really nothing you can do.
Right.
You can put him on meds, but what's that going to,
right.
He's a dog. And I really didn't want that. I did not want that. So I researched for 2 years. I mean, literally, I took him to a holistic vet. She liked the fact that at that point, I started cooking his foods. I was boiling his chicken, mixing in carrots and celery.
So all natural, fresh.
Yes.
It's funny. People won't take care of themselves. They won't eat right, but they will go out of their way, to get meat from the field and cook it special for their dog. And it's pretty funny.
Right.
Right.
I would have done anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was my kid.
Yeah.
So I was cooking for him. That was helping. But I was like, okay, this is not it. He was still getting he was still waking up in the middle of the night with distress.
Yeah.
And he still had diarrhea, but not as much. He still had mucousy stool. He was still vomiting. So, but again, it wasn't as bad. So when I went to the holistic vet, she was like, I like what you're doing with the homemade cooking. She goes, but you have to take the rice out. So
now, how many holistic vets are there?
There aren't that many. I only found one. I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we're in a populous area, tri-state area, right?
Right.
Okay.
She was in Colts Neck, New Jersey.
Yeah, down.
So I drove an hour and a half, right, to get to her.
Horse country.
Yes, love it. Love it. Take me to court. That's where I want to be.
That's where Bruce Springsteen lives. He lives in Colts Neck. Has some
really?
like $50 million property or something. He's into horses. And I think his daughter was on the equestrian riding team for the Olympics this year, or whenever the last Olympics we had.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's in the horses.
So interesting.
But we're getting off the topic. So but there's a hospital down there, some special hospital like near Red Bank. Down in near Colts Neck, right? It's some crazy. Yeah.
And that's not where I went.
You went to this
got
person.
her own holistic practice, right?
Got it.
And she started to give me remedies for him.
Okay.
And I gave him the remedies, and they were causing him to get anxious.
This was like a natural medicine?
Natural remedies that she was making with
herbs, and I got it, like we do.
Correct.
For people. Okay.
For people, right? Yeah. So, but that was making him disoriented. It was he was having adverse effects to it. So that again was not the solution that I was looking for. And one night on a Sunday, I was crying my eyes out, and I was like, and I just said it out loud, and I said, God, please lead my hands to who's going to give me the solution that I'm looking for, because I got to help him.
Right.
I can't see him suffering anymore. It was really
Well, but
stressing
at
me
this
out.
point, you didn't even know if there was a solution, right? I mean,
Right. I didn't.
that's
I
a big
really
problem with
didn't.
things, right? You don't really know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So I didn't know what the solution was, but something in my gut kept telling me to push forward, not to give up, not to, my vet wanted to have me have
Your
him,
regular vet.
my regular vet
Yeah.
wanted me to have him do an endoscopy and colonoscopy. And I was like, I really don't want to put my dog through that.
Right.
I don't know, but I just felt like I really didn't want to do that yet. So that blessed night, I winded up Googling a woman who had a website on healing dogs from colitis.
Okay.
And at that
Now,
point,
still,
I
you're
said,
still working though you haven't changed your career yet,
no,
right? This
I
is
was still
going
a
on
recruiter.
while you're still recruiting.
Yep.
Right. You haven't gotten to
Yep.
that business portion of it yet. Okay. So
But I will tell you one
that was a
thing.
good story. I want to hear the whole story.
Yeah. And I will tell you one thing, that I actually shifted working. Because of the fact that he was in so much distress, and he was so attached to me. So it was hard for me to get walkers for him.
Yeah.
I literally changed I winded up starting to work at that point, 3 days from home, actually 3 days in the office and 2 days from home, because I needed the flexibility with him. And thankfully I did have somebody who my employer at that point was the best.
Okay.
So I called her up on a Sunday. I told her what was going on, and I apologized for even interrupting her on a Sunday. And she was so gracious, so helpful. From the first solution, or actually first recommendation that she gave me, which was to start adding, because I was already cooking for him, right?
Yeah.
So she goes, and I had taken out the brown rice, because dogs cannot break down. They don't have the
Can't deal with the
digestive
starch.
system to break down the grains.
Got it. That's why you
And
see a
neither
lot of
do
foods
many
that are
humans.
grain free, right? That's because a
Right.
lot of dogs are allergic to it and they can't deal with it.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
But you're not even feeding him dog food at this point, right? Processed.
No,
Yeah.
no, I completely shifted. I was cooking him chicken every day, celery with parsley and carrots. But again, as I learned, carrots, when you cook them, they turn into sugar.
Right. And it's too much sugar.
You're
for the
literally, when I
Yeah.
was cooking his foods, I was taking all the nutrients out of it.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
like feeding him something that was dead.
And some of those things are very hypoglycemic. Yeah. So
Right. And there was no enzymes to them. Raw foods, raw meats, they have
Yeah.
enzymes to them. So that's the reason why a lot of dog owners put their
they
dogs
feed
on raw.
Like we can't
Right.
eat raw things, but
Right.
he can. Yeah.
Well, actually, we can as far as plant-based,
Right.
but as far as meats go, obviously,
You
yes.
get contaminated.
Yes, and also like sushi, we shouldn't eat a lot of sushi. It's very high in parasites.
Right.
So even though I love sushi, but
Yeah,
whatever.
me too, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right.
So
Sake helps
going
with that.
back, yeah, seriously, a lot of it. A lot of
Yeah.
it.
Oh boy.
So,
But does he have the
winded
same
up-
problems? Like, let's say chicken was bad.
Yeah.
It gets
It wasn't bad.
Salmonella. Doesn't affect the dog? Or can he
You
get
mean-
sick from that? Pork
Well,
has
you really
whatever,
want-
bad
Well,
pork.
I never gave my dog pork. I would
Oh,
give
okay.
him chicken. I gave him
raw
but
chicken?
I was lightly steaming it on the stove.
Okay.
But you could give it to them raw as long as you're getting it from an organic source
Got
and
it.
you're keeping it frozen until you want to use it.
Yeah, be
And then I
careful.
would absolutely, you just got to be careful. But I would lightly steam it because I always wanted to get the cold out of it for him.
Got it.
So I would lightly leaving it bloody. It was still bloody.
Okay.
So he loved it.
Yeah, I'm
He
sure he
used to
did.
drool, like literally
sure.
there would
Dogs,
be drops of drool.
Yeah.
So I was rotating his meats every 30 days. So
Got
he
it.
would get, because even like people, we should be rotating our high proteins every 4 days.
Yeah, I'm sure. You shouldn't be eating the same protein all the time, right?
You shouldn't be eating the same protein every day. So for
Right.
example, a lot of people that I come across eat eggs every day.
Right.
or they'll
Or
eat
they have a turkey
chicken every
sandwich for
day.
lunch every day, or they, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta rotate your high proteins, but I'll get into that.
Yeah.
So winds it up that the first recommendation she gave me, and I was like, all right, am I a believer in this? And it's funny because I had come across her website 6 months earlier and I didn't believe it.
You
I
thought
said,
you
yeah,
was
right.
quack a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, right.
Come on.
I can
Yeah.
heal naturally.
Right.
What? No way. With Whole
Yeah.
Foods?
You read
No
tarot
way.
cards with your dog too, that.
Right, right. So I winded up. I said, I got to give this a shot. I had no other alternatives left.
Yeah.
Winded up that she told me the first thing I want you to do is I want you to start get a organic zucchini if you can find it, and a stalk of celery. Take about a couple of tablespoons, because it depends on the weight, couple of tablespoons of pureed raw zucchini and celery.
Okay.
And the mixture of these two vegetables are so powerful. They add a lot of sodium back into your dog's diet as well as their body, and also minerals.
Huh. But
Right.
still raw. You just chopped it up,
Raw.
mashed it up.
No, I did it right in a magic bullet. I added water.
But you didn't cook
I added
it.
a little water. No, added a
Right.
little water. I started to, now at this point, my dog had diarrhea every day for 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
Yeah, because it does havoc on his system, just like us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
right.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started to add the tables within days, 2 days. The mucus out of his stool started to disappear, and his stool started to become more formed.
So you just added it to the meat or whatever in the bowl?
I just added it to his like the chicken, the carrots, and the celery, and whatever I made for him cooked. I just started to add it into that. And then when I started to see that the mucus started to disappear and his stool started to become more formed, I was like, oh my God, this is working. And she also gave me a magic tea recipe.
Magic tea. Oh, I like
yes. And I actually give it to people as well as pet owners. And it's made with caraway seeds, fennel seeds, anise seeds, and fresh ginger. Very easy to make. You just boil about 2 dime sizes of ginger. And I would make it fresh all the time. But you can also keep it in the fridge and then just heat it up back on the stove. And then I would get like a few shakes of each seed. Obviously strain out the seeds and the ginger, and I would get a syringe and I started to give it to my dog throughout the day. And that helped with clearing out any gas, really calming his stomach down, relaxing his muscle spasms that he was having in his stomach.
Huh. And so you squirted it in his mouth because you couldn't like say, here, drink this.
No, because obviously he needs, he was a little stubborn with that.
Right.
But I was just like, I'm the boss, I rule, and you're going to listen to me. So, and now instead of giving him the gas X at night, I had a remedy the minute he started to get those loud gurgly noises as he was healing, I would squirt that tea and it was like magic. His stomach would settle right down.
Huh. Does it work for humans?
Yeah. And it does. It works for humans too.
Okay. Because I don't want people listening if it's a dog recipe and they shouldn't be. Okay.
Absolutely not. They should definitely use it without a doubt.
Don't eat raw chicken though.
No, do not. Do not.
Don't do that. Exactly.
No. Or any raw meats for that matter.
But you still hadn't at that point had any experience with human homeopathy at that, right? Okay.
No.
Right.
So then with obviously going through the natural healing process with him, now at this point, I was no longer boiling his food altogether. I was pureeing all raw vegetables at this point.
Got it.
And I was mixing pureed food with his different meats that I was alternating every 30 days that were lightly steamed just to get the cold out of it. Right. And I was giving him, because he was a big dog, so I would give him about 1.5 pounds of meat mixed with raw veggies.
He'd eat it all. Vegetables.
Oh my God, he would eat it all. And I was rotating his veggies too. I would give him, but he was also getting different things throughout the day. I was giving him avocado with mixed with pine nuts pureed in the magic bullet. He would love it, lick it all up. he was getting raw eggs, and I was giving him predominantly the yolk and not the white of the egg. And I would mix that with
Not the white.
kami, not the white,
The
because that
opposite
causes
of
a lot
us.
of gas issues.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
Well, actually, it
because a lot of
shouldn't even
protein, right?
be.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. But also, us as humans, we need the yolk of the egg.
Yeah.
It contains special nutrients in the egg.
Right.
Even when you're making an egg, you really don't want to scramble the egg, because the minute that yolk touches the heat, you kind of lose all the nutrients from the yolk.
I make fried eggs. I like them like well done. So
That's good though,
It
because
is?
even though you're not breaking the yolk, the
No,
yolk
it
is on
locks it
top.
in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's different.
Okay.
I mean, like when you scramble it, you kind of lose it, because then it's really getting heated on all
That
sides.
makes sense. Right.
Right. So at that point, I was giving him a lot of different snacks. I was giving him an an egg. No, actually an apple. I would take he was getting smoothies every morning, and I would give him an apple. I would take the skin off. I would give him an apple, a pear, and a banana with almond butter, coconut water, all blended in the magic bullet. But then I would also give him blueberries and
You
strawberries
would eat
with
all that
almond
stuff.
butter. It took me, and again, your dog is not going to be used to this, but once he gets the taste for it, I literally had to like kind of follow my dog around for a little bit, like when we were kids with our moms walking around with
Try this. Yeah.
yes, try this. And he would turn away from it, and I would give it to him in his mouth, until one day I just put it in front of him, and he sniffed it, and he was like, all right. And he licked it up. And I have videos on my YouTube of him waiting for it and
Yeah.
crying for it as I'm making it.
Yeah. You changed his
So
taste buds.
absolutely.
Because I find
And
that smaller dogs, like I grew up with big dogs, Rhodesian Ridgebacks, like, 115 pounds, right? So, but they're very food driven, like, to get them to eat this or that, they'll eat almost anything. The little dog, now I have two small dogs. The one eats cucumbers, like she likes vegetables, cucumbers, peppers, things like that. She won't eat fruit. She doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, you'd have to, I don't know how to, and they're not very food driven. We leave food out all day, just dry food, and they graze and they go. My dog would have, like you said, would have eaten it and flipped his stomach if you left food out. We used to come home, my mom would feed the dog and forget to tell my father, and my dad would come home, start making food, and the dog would be standing there like, oh my God, I think he's going to feed me again. I'm not going to move. Maybe he'll feed me a whole bowl of food again. And the dog would eat it,
So funny.
But there's a
That
lot of
is
things
too
I put
funny.
down, and the dog's like, her stomach's bothering her that day. She walks away from it, even though, they usually like to slop it up. But yeah,
But I will tell you
it'd be
that
harder with little dogs.
well, I will tell you, I've actually helped a lot of pet owners with small dogs.
Yeah, well, they
especially
have a lot of
Chihuahuas.
allergies. Yeah, and they have teeth
Yep.
problems. They have esophagus problems. They have, they just
Yep.
throw up for no reason, just because their systems are so tiny.
Yeah, and it's the
a big
food, like I
problem.
said. It's
Right, I'm sure. Just your body rejects it, right? So get this
yes,
out of
and
here.
and also besides the whole foods, my dog was on a ramp up process. I had to get his gut ramped up again and
Right, because he
healthy
was a
again, because
mess.
he was a mess. So
Right.
it was a blend of probiotics and enzymes that were micro blended with algae. That is the main component that made them so much stronger. So what the algae does to the probiotics is it literally duplicates the good bacteria.
Makes sense.
And then the enzymes, if you're giving your dogs raw completely, then it's okay not to really give them enzymes, but the more enzymes, the better. We're all born with enzymes, so are dogs. Enzymes really work on breaking down the food, especially proteins, and really have it absorbed into the cellular wall. I don't eat any meals without my enzymes.
Personally, for
Me
you.
personally,
Yeah.
absolutely. And my dog never ate, unless it was raw, like fruits, I would never give him enzymes with anything raw. But if it was his cooked meat, I would. Even though it had the veggies in there that were raw, I would still throw 2 or 3 enzymes on there. And then he was getting microorganic algae. And the microorganic algae, which I started in week 4 of his healing process, right? Because I didn't want to start him more. And this is what she taught me. It's a process. You don't just start everything, you ramp up to a certain amount of probiotics, a certain amount of enzymes. within like a month, I started to see my dog was just he was thriving again. He wasn't completely healed at that point, because depending on how chronic things were in his stomach was going to determine how long the healing process was going to be. In 8 months, he was completely healed. He never had diarrhea again.
Yeah, but
So
I don't
I
want
was,
people listening to think that this is easy, right? It's not like
no,
you
it's
just make
not.
the stuff, put it down in a bowl, your
No,
dog eats it, and the dog's going to be
no.
healthy. You have to work at getting the dog. And
You,
we will, by the way, people listening, we will follow the journey that took you into a business, basically, where you're
right.
now working with people for pets and their own issues. But yeah, I don't want people to think like it is
No,
work.
it is
If your
work.
dog has a problem, you got to get
Absolutely.
him to eat it. You got to
That's
follow him
right.
around with your syringe, right? And squirt the stuff in his mouth. And
Probiotics in the
yeah,
beginning. And
you didn't
sometimes
want
like I
anything
would
to
get,
do with it, right?
well, yeah, but you know what? Again, I was the boss. So
Well,
literally it was so
people got to
easy
realize
for
that,
me.
right? You get
Well,
to
because
decide what your dog eats. He doesn't get to
right.
decide.
That's right. But I also, once he knew, like he knew first thing in the morning before our walk, he was getting his probiotics on an
Right.
empty stomach. And it took me literally not even 2 minutes. You mix it with a little water, you put it in the syringe and you squeeze it in their mouth. So I tried to really get things. The meals don't take long. My meals, his main meals, literally took me not even 10 minutes.
Right. Because you got better at it. It probably took you longer to start, right? You're
Exactly.
like, oh,
The first 2 weeks were
yeah,
like, oh, what am
like hell. Right. Of
yeah,
course.
it was right. It
Like
was like, oh
anything,
my
right?
God. Yes, like
Yeah.
anything. So again, it's not easy, but my dog was worth it. And the end
Everybody's
results,
dog's worth it. And,
right,
9 years for a dog that size is a long time. That's a full life,
right,
you
without a
know,
doubt. And I saved so much more money on the vet bills,
I'm sure. I was wondering
because
if you had insurance when you said you got to go to
I
the vet, you got
did,
to go to the emergency.
I
You did.
did,
Yeah.
I had
People
insurance
should
on
get
him.
pet insurance. I don't realize. Yeah.
Absolutely, they should. Some companies don't. Like for me, I didn't get the company. I should have at that point, but I was like, you know what? I don't need it. But again, who knew how
Right.
much I was going to spend on the wellness visits, because they're considered wellness visits.
And they
But I
cover
was
those?
covered. No, I was
Oh,
covered for the surgery though.
got it.
So I did get 90% back of $6,000 from the
Yeah.
surgery,
That's a lot.
which was so worth it.
Right.
So worth it.
Yeah, of course.
Um, yeah, but I would tell anyone that has a pet, definitely get insurance without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's like a person,
Right.
But then 8 months later, like I said, he was healed. And that to me was like, oh my God, I need to really pay this forward. I need to share this with other people. And that's what I started to do. I asked my mentor, I said, I want you to mentor me. Is that possible? She's like, of course, absolutely.
This was the holistic vet?
No, this is the
No?
woman who's in Seattle. She's in Seattle. She was my earth angel. She was the woman who taught me, the woman who had the website with colitis for dogs,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot that.
natural
Right.
healing colitis for
Yeah.
dogs.
Okay.
She's in Seattle. She's an angel, an earth angel. I will tell you, she's somebody who I thank God every day that she came into my life, because then eventually couple of years down the line, she's helping me reverse my issue with my thyroid
But she's
and the
not
mass
is
and
she a
nodules.
medical doctor?
No,
Okay.
she's studied with functional medicine doctors.
Oh, okay.
She's been doing this for over 30 years. She healed her own eczema naturally, which is she's now passed down that knowledge to me. She healed her own ulcerative colitis on her own. She's helped other people heal. She's helped pet owners. So I'm now blessed enough and grateful that she's now teaching me how to help others heal. She helps people with fertility issues. So a lot of what people are suffering from, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Well, they
Doesn't
just,
have to be that way.
but our
But
medical,
there's
I
no
don't, I
quick
mean, I
fix
have
though.
doctors who are clients of mine, so I don't want to insult too many people, but
No, absolutely.
doctors, they're kind of taught, right? You have a problem, take a pill. It's all traditional stuff. They don't think about holistic. That's why I tend to be more favorable towards DOs than MDs. I know the practices are merging now and the paths are merging, but they always seem to be better diagnosticians when it comes to holistic views of what's
Yes.
happening to you, right? So
Agreed.
don't just take a
Agreed.
pill, and maybe it makes your symptoms go away, but it might not fix you, and
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Right.
it was really
And
the
two,
fortuitous nature of meeting this woman finding her online that kind of put you on this
Yep.
path.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. But too honestly, with doctors, I used to, really be like, like, why do they automatically prescribe a med? But you know what? To their I don't even know what the word is, but they don't know any better. They
Right. Well,
weren't
they're
taught,
pushed by, yeah, of course.
and they
That's always
weren't
the problem.
taught.
Right.
If you ask a doctor how much they were taught in nutrition in all the years of school, it's
Right.
about like maybe 2 to 3, maybe tops
Right.
4
There wasn't
months.
an important part of medicine as far as they were
It
concerned.
wasn't.
Right.
So for them, they were taught about medicine and
Right.
surgeries, and that was the way to go.
Yeah. No, look, a lot of professions are like that.
Yeah.
In the legal profession, most of us are really bad business people. We have to run practices, but we get no training to do it. Even doctors, that's why they merge a lot of times with hospitals. They're terrible business people when they don't get training. So it's not surprising that the industry is driven in a certain direction, because look, it's driven by insurance, it's driven by pharmaceuticals, it's driven by these, the flow of money. Unfortunately, that's really
Absolutely.
where,
Right.
so all these
Right.
homeopathic stuff, you're gonna have to pay for it yourself. So a lot of people, they go to their doctor, it's covered by insurance. Look, insurance is paying the meds, I'll do it.
Right.
And they're not getting
And
better.
that's the sad part.
Right.
It really is so sad that I never see one commercial on TV about changing your lifestyle
Right.
and how much shifting the lifestyle. It's your diet,
Yep.
it's supplements, it's that are actually plant-based, because I am not one for any supplements that are man-made or chemically made. I focus on only whole food plant-based supplements.
Okay.
It's sleep, it's water,
Yeah.
it's your stress, it's movement, exercise.
Sure.
It's not just one piece. It's a
No,
it's
it's a
like
holistic
a pie.
approach, right? Yeah.
Right. It's a holistic approach. And when I'm working with people, even with their pets, it's about the alkaline diet. That's really the key. Our diets, even dogs, should be 70% alkalines and 30% acid.
Yeah.
You need the acidity. And
Right. But
also
some people have
making
too much, right? It's too, there was a guy I
it's
met
too acidic.
out of California, at a macrobiotic diet, and it was all about pH. All
Yes.
about green and pH, and they were very acidic. We're too acidic.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Exactly. And it's because of it's our diet. It's
Yeah,
Western medicine
preservatives,
diet, the
sugars,
preservatives. Sugar is another topic. We can have a
oh
whole
my God, you
other
go to the
show on.
supermarket, it might as well be a crack house when it comes to sugar.
Seriously.
It's in
Yes.
everything.
Right. And
Called different
that's
things. You don't know what it is. It's just crazy.
fructose, glucose. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
all
all under
sugar.
without a
course.
doubt. But
Yeah.
that is the sugar is the start of it drops an inflammation bomb in your body. Literally.
Yeah.
It creates inflammation in your body. Inflammation is what creates many, many of the degenerative conditions in our body.
I'm sure. Do you know that I read somewhere that that the insurance industry spends twice as much on metabolic disorders, taking care of people, than the entire sugar industry makes in profit.
Right.
They could give half the amount of money to the sugar people, and they could just take the money and save half of what they spend, because we have metabolic problems. We have diabetes. We have, all this type of stuff.
Yes.
And we're all addicted to it, and it's not going away anytime soon. I mean, we're getting better at it, but still.
Right. But I work with people on really taking small, manageable steps.
Yeah, you have to, or it's never going to stick.
It's never going to stick. So it's really being on their map. It's where are they? What is a commitment that they can make to themselves on the journey that we're going to start?
Well, isn't that why like all the New Year's resolutions fall apart? Because people bite off too much.
Exactly.
They're like, that's it. I'm going to the gym every day of the week.
Right.
Which is not good for you anyway, but yeah.
You have a year to make that full goal.
Ease your way in. Right.
Ease your way in. Start with even once a week.
Right.
That's beautiful. Even if you make a
100% more than you were doing before. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even if you make 1% of an improvement, that leads to big results. And I love the saying, small hinges swing big doors.
Yeah. There's a Japanese word, kaizen. Kaizen. It's about little changes make a big difference. It's the same type of concept. Yeah.
That's right.
There's business examples of that too. They make one little change in the company. They change one thing, and everybody's kind of fallen into place,
Right.
And it happens.
Right.
So are you
Absolutely.
still at this point? Are you still at the recruit? You still with the agency or doing recruiting?
I do it independently. I'm
No,
only
I mean at
working
this
with
point where
one.
you started mentoring with
Oh, I
the
was
woman
still
from
doing,
Seattle.
yes, because obviously I
You had
had
to
to pay
pay
my
your
bills.
bills. Yeah.
Of
Okay.
course.
Makes
So
sense.
I was still working full time, building my business with dog IBS. And I don't even call it a business. For me, it brings me so much joy
Well,
to,
isn't that what it should be like? We don't feel like we
without
work
a
a day in our
doubt.
life. That's what we're all looking for. Now, so,
I don't
but
even,
at
yeah,
that point though, you were kind of like, listen, you kind of saw that this is the road you're going on, right? When you
that's right.
don't have to
I
pay
knew
your
it.
bills anymore doing this is going to be it for you. And you felt
That's,
passion for it.
yeah. And I said, okay, how do I do this? How do I
Yeah.
don't even charge people for coaching them with their pets. So,
That's just a throw in. Like you love the dogs. So you want to help them.
I love the dogs. I want to help them. I want to teach the pet owners to really heal their dogs, because then they're going to have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So they're going to have, and it's going to be, again, paying it forward to other pet owners.
Right.
So again, digestive issues. I see so many people that have dogs on thyroid medication.
Yeah.
And diabetes with
Yeah.
the
Metabolic disorder.
dogs are actually getting the same disorders that we have.
Yeah. You think that's not a coincidence, right?
Wow. Yeah.
They're like living in
I
our
wonder.
environment. They're eating our foods. We're processing it the same way, probably. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Probably. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So fast forward
To what year?
to 2000. Well, starting with my story, I mean, it starts before my dog, but I had gone through my own health issues starting in my late 30s.
So before you had
And
the dog.
before I had the dog, I had already started on I went through premature ovarian failure at the age of 38.
Oh,
That put me into menopause.
yeah.
And I was faced with the decision on, okay, you have 6 months to have a child. If you want to have one, you're going to have to do it within 6 months. And I'm like, what? I wasn't even with anybody. And I'm like, and I knew I always wanted to be a mom.
Right.
Because I always felt like I had that what's the word? Yes,
Nurturing
the
personality.
nurturing. Yes, completely.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I want to do it. And then I
Okay.
started to, do all the testing in the world. And the doctor was like, you're healthy, except your ovaries are not really, they're not functioning right. Now that I know what I know now, looking back then, how could I have been healthy if my ovaries were stopping?
Right. You obviously
So
weren't.
I wasn't
Right.
healthy.
It's
There
kind
was
of an
something
oxymoron type of a statement, right? Well, you're healthy except for
correct.
the fact that your heart doesn't work. You're saying,
That's
well, then I'm
right.
not healthy.
Right. Even
Right.
people with blood pressure and cholesterol,
Yeah.
there's cholesterol directly linked to your liver,
Yeah.
And your pancreas. So blood pressure connected to your kidneys. There's something not right there. You can reverse all of that. But so I was already experiencing a lot of things with my health. Then from there, I decided, I don't know
This
what
was
it
how many
was.
years ago?
I was 38. I'll be 51 next month.
So 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah, 20 something years ago.
13, 14. Yeah. Okay.
You're the mathematician.
Yeah. Well, we're 13 years ago.
Well,
Okay.
13.
Yeah. 38, you said, right? And you're going to
Now
be 51.
51.
So that's
Yeah.
12, 13 years.
That's not 13 years ago.
From 38 to 51.
38 to 51.
Yeah.
Is that 13 years?
Yeah. 13,
Okay.
maybe I'm a year over 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do I
I'm
feel
not
like
a
it was so
mathematician, by
much?
the way. I just want to clear that up. My wife is, but I'm not.
Why do I feel like that was so much
Seems
longer?
like
I
farther.
feel like
Yeah,
it was
longer.
forever.
No, it was like 13 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just winded up going through all the testing, and I don't know what it was. I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to do this on my own. And I made peace with it. But I was still not feeling well. I
Yeah.
started to then developed adrenal fatigue. Really, really bad. I was having a hard time concentrating. I was chronically fatigued all the time. I had body aches. I was irritable. Like it's funny. They call adrenal fatigue the 21st century. I don't remember, there was a book about it, but it was something about the 21st century chronic disease that a lot of people have that aren't aware that they have it. So from my ovaries obviously not working at this point now, my adrenals started to get, because again, it was also my hormones were
all connected.
crazy.
Of
It's
course.
all connected. Absolute thyroid, everything is connected.
Right.
But it really does all start with your gut. Your gut health determines the health of your entire system. So I just, adrenal fatigue kicked in, and
I mean, did you have a bad diet? Were you a terrible eater? Were you
not
not
really. No, but I was a smoker.
Oh, well, that doesn't help. Yeah.
I was a smoker. I didn't really, but again, coming from an Italian family, it was a lot of pasta. It was
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of bread.
My wife's half
It was a
Italian.
lot of cold cuts. It was a lot of, processed foods.
Cured meats.
That's right.
Yeah.
And growing up in the 70s and in the 80s, that was normal.
Yeah,
that was
pasta
it.
and burgers. Yeah.
Yep. Going out, getting ice cream, this, that,
Bolognese.
sugar.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so delish, by the way.
It still can be good sometimes,
It's
but
still, without
I'm
doubt,
sure though, if you
moderation.
have a heavy meal, like an Italian meal, you probably feel awful later on, right? Because you're taking care of yourself and then you're just like, oh, I mean,
But you
we
know
all
what?
do it,
I've
right?
also learned about mindful eating as well. I
Right.
don't eat until I'm overly stuffed. I just eat until I'm satisfied. And that, because your stomach needs room to turn, the muscles in your stomach. So a lot of people, the reason why when they're eating until they're
Gonna burst.
overly stuffed and burst, where
Right.
they got to open up the buttons on their pants, that's when it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah.
So
I always say there's nothing like tastes as good as feeling well.
absolutely,
Like it's not worth
nothing
it,
like
because
it.
you always
There's
regret
really
it
nothing
afterward.
like it.
You always regret it.
You do. You do.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it is, you feel like crap.
You know what's
Probably all
funny?
get sick. We overwhelm our bodies with food.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
My brother, who had he's fairly healthy, right? But started to teeter on having a blood pressure issue, the cholesterol, whatever. I said to him, you got to change your diet. And his wife, thank God, is someone who she cooks fairly, healthy.
Yeah.
So she was, making all healthy meals, but he was putting at that point, he was having a nice big jug of coffee with literally like 6 teaspoons of sugar in
So
there.
the caffeine and the sugar and
the sugar.
His body's like on crack.
So so winds it up. He changed his diet, cut the coffee out, which he started to get headaches from. And I will tell you why people get headaches from stopping coffee. It's because when you drink coffee, it literally shrinks your blood vessels.
Makes
so
sense.
There's not as much blood going through.
Right.
When you stop drinking coffee, your blood vessels start to open
You're
up.
getting a headache because the blood's coming in. Makes sense. But it goes away.
It goes away. It goes away after a few days.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Right. So he stopped doing that, and he lost 20 pounds.
Right. Just from eating well, not
just from eating well.
Yeah.
No. And I don't work with people on deprivation.
Right.
It's not about deprivation. It's about feeding your body high energy foods.
Right.
But
not too much, right?
Body.
You got to learn to limit your portions. You can't be eating piles of pasta.
Absolutely not. No, there's a magic plate that I go over with people to really show them how to portion their plates out. The more veggies, the merrier. That's what I tell people all the time. Make it the color of the rainbow. But he winds it up for the holidays. He embellished my mom making, the struffelis and the zeppelis.
You
and
guys
we're
go
all like,
crazy.
we were going crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, forget it. We were on break. Winds it up. He was like, he tells me today, he goes, that I had gained 8 pounds during like November, December. And I said, really? He goes, I cut out everything again. He goes, and I lost it.
Yeah.
That's it. So really, it's also the key to weight loss, but also like there's other keys to weight loss, like it's not what you eat so much, it's who you're being when you eat when it comes to weight loss.
That's understandable. I think dieting shouldn't be an activity where you say, I'm going to diet and lose weight. You have to change your diet. You have to change the way you live and eat. Or else it'll come back. It's just going to come back.
Right. It's a whole food diet, basically. It's limiting, for me, it's limiting the white flour-based foods, the dairy. I completely once in a blue, I'll have cheese, but Dairy I cut out.
Yeah, dairy's not anything like mucusy, I think is
No,
not really good for you.
no,
Because
it's
beyond
not.
your mother's milk, but beyond that, yogurts and cheeses and it
Nope.
doesn't agree with me at all. Never has. I'm probably missing some enzymes. I can't really digest dairy fats. So I just,
Yes.
one day the doctor's like, yeah, I wouldn't eat that. I'm like, that's what you tell me? You
Right.
poked me, you put me through an upper GI, lower GI, you tell me I should just not eat it. It's like I
Well,
could do
if you
that.
can't digest fats, that sounds like your gallbladder,
It
by the
might
way.
be. I don't know. I
Maybe.
still have that. My
But
wife lost hers, but I still have my gallbladder.
oh, thank God that you do. Don't ever get it removed.
Well, if it doesn't
It's
function, you have to,
because
right?
no, because you can actually help it function again. That's
Yeah,
the
well,
thing. That's the any of your organs that are malfunctioning starts with your gut. 80% of all the systems in your body is directly connected to the gut. So the gut also is directly connected to the brain. There's a gut brain axis. People
makes
that
sense.
have anxiety or depression, when your gut is malfunctioning, that means there's going to be misfires to your brain. When there's misfires to your brain, it can kick off as anxiety, depression, asthma, an
Kinds of things, right?
autoimmunity, a thyroid issue.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So in
Well, I
my
wish I
own
went met you
health,
20 years ago. Well, the 20 years ago you weren't doing this, that probably wouldn't have worked. But my wife lost her gallbladder.
I wish I would have known
Yeah.
her sooner.
You
I
go to the
wish,
GI guy and he's like, oh, you have gallstones, we got to take gallbladder. You don't know.
right. You don't
Right.
know any better. And that's the reason why I want to share this with the world, because I want people to know better. I
Right.
want people to open up their perspectives to a new inspiration or a new possibility of naturally healing. So, and then the adrenal fatigue kicked in for me.
Right.
Adrenal fatigue, I just, because again, I was going through menopause and I had every symptom under the sun, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the irritability. I had gained weight. I was just not happy.
Right.
My sleep was off. I was waking up in the middle of the night, couldn't fall back to sleep again. And sleep again is another crucial part
Sure,
of the
huge.
pie.
People don't sleep well, they're a mess. I mean, you can't.
Right.
When you have kids and you don't remember what you're yelling about, and the kids pooping and peeing, and you could live without food and water for a little while, no sleep, forget it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's not good.
Without a doubt. It's directly related to your hormones. So in that being said, I went the bioidentical hormone replacement route at that point.
What's that?
Because I had read, it's basically because I knew I was losing estrogen, I was losing progesterone.
Right.
My cortisol level was through the roof. That's the reason why I really could not handle stress at all at that point. And my job was very stressful. My
Yeah.
job itself was very stressful. And so for me, I wanted, in thinking that, so bioidentical hormone replacement is basically where they get your blood and they make these synthetically made hormones in a compounding facility that you start to make that are supposed to match what you're losing.
Okay. So they need your
And I
blood
had
test and
read,
figure out what you're missing.
yeah, like estrogen was
Okay.
my issue, progesterone, and my cortisol level again was through the roof.
Right.
So I had read a famous actress's book on that, and that's where it gave me, I'm like, okay, that sounds natural to me. I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to
Right.
try that. And I also tried Chinese herbs. I tried Chinese medicine. That it subsided my symptoms, but my levels of my hormones were still through the roof and still depleted. So it really was only masking. It wasn't healing me.
Now you weren't at this point coaching other people. You were still trying to figure out your own
I was
problems.
still trying to figure out my own. I was still a recruiter. And then when I started to, I went for my wellness exam, and my doctor was like, what do you want? And I'm like, why? And I said, well, why can't I lose this weight? I was 151 pounds and I'm 5'3". That was for me.
Heavy. It's obese.
That's heavy. It's
Yeah.
obese. And
You're short.
I didn't feel good, and I'm
Right.
short. Exactly. So I said to my doctor, I'm on this, and this. He goes, wait a minute. Because he asked me, are you taking, Tylenol or Advil? And I go, no, why? He said, your liver enzymes are through the roof.
Is that a good thing?
That's a
No,
bad
no,
thing.
liver enzymes bad, right? Because
That's
that's
bad.
also a side of alcoholism and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Fatty
Right.
liver, all of
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, no, doc, I don't take Tylenol ever. I don't any of that. So he looked at what I was taking and he goes, there it is. I was taking something that had hydrocortisone in it. That was for my cortisol level, but it also, because of the steroid component, it was building in my liver.
Yeah, because your liver
Steroids do
breaks that
not,
stuff down, right?
but you
It
know what?
can't.
Steroids, it can't.
Yeah.
Steroids literally attaches itself to your fat tissues in your body. That's why a lot of people gain weight when they're on steroids.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And it really does a number to your liver and kidneys because it doesn't wash out of the body.
Right.
So I said, all right. Then at 2 years of doing that, I said, that's not the solution. And at that point, I stopped doing anything because I was like, all right, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. It'll come to me at one point,
Just
whatever
because
I
you're
have
frustrated.
to do. I was frustrated, very,
Right.
and I was tired, and I was unhappy at that point. I think that was probably the most unhappiest I've been in my whole life, was that period in my life. And then I woke up one morning. Now I had nodules on my thyroid that were under control for I think it was 3 years at that point. I just kept getting a sonogram to check up on them, and they were always, same size, very minimal, very small. One morning I woke up and I felt my throat was very hoarse, and the body aches before that had gotten really bad, especially at night.
Right.
And I felt my throat and I felt lumps on in my throat coming out. And you were able to see them
These are on your vocal cords?
on my throat. Yeah, my thyroid. Yes.
Okay.
So I got really scared. I called my doctor. He got me in immediately. He sent me for blood work and a sonogram. And I had developed a mass on my thyroid. Also, the nodules, 6 nodules that were under control for 3 years now, had grown exponentially to a
Right.
point where they were over 4 centimeters.
So was it something you were taking?
So at this point, I had linked because again, I was trying to do things naturally. So I knew that women that are going through menopause, you should, and this is what my mentor had told me, you should eat a certain amount of soy, right, throughout the week, but have it come from a food source. Now, me being busy all the time, I was like, let me look up natural soy, fermented soy. And I got a supplement. From April to August, taking that soy blew up the enzymes. And when you look up soy and nodules, it literally, even if you have a cyst in your body, but then I really don't know where the mass came from, but I kind of linked it all together.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I stopped taking the soy. And then my doctor was like, I said, okay, doc, what do I need to do here? Oh, and my thyroid was malfunctioning at this point. So now not only are my adrenal glands malfunctioning, my ovaries are completely, my reproductive system was done. Now I'm dealing with the thyroid issue and the mass and nodules. And the mass and nodules really scared me because I thought, like many people probably do, cancer.
Right.
So my doctor was like, I want you to go to an endocrinologist and I want you to have a biopsy done. And I said, well, okay. I said, why do I have to go to an endocrinologist? He said, he's going to put you on thyroid medication. I said, doc, it's not what I want to do. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, doc, there has to be a way naturally to fix this. And I made the appointment for both because I was scared. So winds it up 3 days later, after I made the appointment, a light bulb went off and my gut was telling me, call my mentor. She's got the solution here. I said to myself, she's helped so many other people heal naturally. There's got to be a solution for this. And thank God I did. So she told me what to do, which was, again, completely clean my diet, remove dairy, red meats, white flour-based foods, any inflammatory-based foods out of my diet. Yeah. Sugar, reducing all my sugar intake, which again, I really didn't eat a lot of sugar, but sugar just creates inflammation in your body. I started the ramp up process, right, with the supplements, the whole food supplements. And I gave myself 3 months of a mark, and I canceled the appointments with the biopsy and the doctor. Because I said, if this doesn't work in 3 months, I'm going to figure out something else. I will listen to my doctor at this point.
You wanted to give it a shot. And
I
you really
wanted to
met
give it
her
a shot.
because of the IBS with your dog.
Right. That's how I met her originally.
Right.
So then every morning I was waking up. And this was a mixture of the probiotics, the enzymes that are microblended with the algae component that is my vitamins, minerals, and has 8 amino acids in it that your
Okay.
body doesn't even make.
Right.
And also proteolytic enzymes, which I used to shrink the mass and nodules. So a month later, I woke up and I couldn't feel the lumps anymore.
Just a month?
A month. And I lost 12 pounds at that point. And I was like, oh my God, this is the solution. I gave it the 3 months. So from August to December, I went back to the doctor, got another sono and blood work, and my thyroid was back to normal. And the mass and nodules had shrunk by more than half their size.
Was he amazed?
He was amazed. And he said to me, what are you doing? I told him, I said, Doc, I was so excited. Let me help your patients. Let me work your, I can help them. And he's like, oh, and he was like, he pushed back on it.
Right.
And again, fine. That's when I started working on my book, Healing Through Nature's Medicine, A Story of Hope. That's on Amazon and on my website.
Okay.
And because I wanted to share that with the world.
Yeah, we'll put a link for the book in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you. And that's when I started to study to become a health coach and a life coach.
And that's really good because you had the epiphany of
yes,
this works, and you solved all those problems. And now your weight's good, your thyroid's good.
And 3 months later, when I went back to the doctor, I had lost 24 pounds at that
There's
point.
another 3 months. So that was 6 months now.
No, it was in that from August to December. I lost 12 pounds in the first month because I had weighed myself. When I went back to the doctor on that 4th month, I had lost 24 pounds.
So 90 days really does a lot if you're really diligent about it.
Without a doubt. And my energy after that first month started coming back. By that 4th month, my clarity, my brain was clear. I felt more focused. My concentration came back. I felt more confident in my body. I started to love myself again, and then a year later, when I went back for my wellness, the mass and nodules were completely gone. And I have that at the back of my book. I included my blood work and my sonograms because I want people to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you really decided, I'm going to make this a business and I'm going to help people.
Yes.
So how did you start building the business? How do you find people and how do they find you? And I mean, you found this woman in Seattle on your own.
Yep.
She didn't have a billboard up or send you an email, right?
Absolutely. For me, it was about networking.
Okay.
It was about
meeting people, telling your story.
Absolutely. Meeting people, telling my story. Also doing workshops.
Yeah.
I do workshops with a wellness facility. I actually did a workshop on the effects of sugar on your body and why people, how to kick the sugar craving and the sugar habit.
Yeah, that's probably a popular one.
Without a doubt, because you create your own sugar cravings in your body. But again, that's another story.
But it's a little bit of society, right? It's how you're raised and you don't they don't say when you're a little baby, hey, you want to eat sugar? You shouldn't eat sugar. It's like you do. You get candy. It's Halloween. You're right. I mean, that's the whole thing.
My mom used to give me the chocolate milk in the bottle.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. We all grew up on soda, So, and then it's all about, I started to build my website. I started to use Google to really try to attract more people to my site. I built out my LinkedIn, profile, my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and I try to post as much educational information for people about naturally healing their body and how you can heal your body. So now, and thankfully, I also have once a month, I'm on a radio show called with Joan Herman. It's called Conversations with Joan, The Answer. And that's on New York's AM 970 radio station, and I'm on once a month giving tips on different topics.
Right.
Like
Good
this past
marketing.
month. Yeah. This
Yeah.
past month, it was on how to beat the winter blues.
Okay. Now, how did you get on that show? Did you meet Joan, or somebody introduced you, or networking, or how did that happen?
I sent her a LinkedIn message.
Okay, good.
And I told her I was very impressed with her background. I knew she had a book club, and I wanted to get my book on her book club, which I did.
Yeah, writing a book as a business person is a good thing, especially if you have something you're passionate about, and you have, it's not just something you're passionate about. You have a case study of yourself.
Yes.
It
And my
says
dog.
here, look at my blood, look at my, look at all my
Yes.
tests.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when I went back to the vet. He had told me, I was like, see, doc, you see what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I was
you're
only
a quack, right?
No, actually, he said, keep doing the magic you're doing. That's what he said to me. So I was like, that's exactly what I'm doing. And, thankfully he was great for 9 years. So, I mean, for 5 years after that. So, but yeah, that was really what propelled. Now it's like the
But you
thirst
don't
for
think the vet changed
knowledge.
the way he does his
No,
business? No
absolutely
way.
not. No
Right.
way.
No
I
way.
actually even was trying to talk to him about trying this and really trying to implement more of this and
Right.
really helping.
Well, if
That
you
I
think
actually
about it, if
worked,
he heals too many dogs, he's not going to have patience to come in.
right. But do you know that I actually worked for him for 3 months because I was trying to get him to have that buy-in. And the only thing that was the saddest thing for me to walk away from was to see how many dogs were on medications.
Right. And you
We're
knew you could
on
help them.
antibiotics.
Right.
We're on these thyroid meds. We're having to come in to get their livers checked every month.
Right.
It was terrible. It was
But the
so
only way to
sad.
help them, though, is you got to coach their owners.
Yes.
And
It all
teach them
starts
how
there.
to, right, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, it
That's
starts.
really what it
So have
starts.
you worked with people throughout the world now because of Zoom and things like that? I mean, you don't have to be next to them, right?
No, absolutely not. I can work with anyone, anywhere. Right now, I've never, I did have the opportunity to work with a woman in London.
Uh-huh.
And we were working to heal her dog from irritable bowel syndrome, which we did. But again, I can work with people anywhere. And I love it because it's a personal connection you have, even though we're not meeting in person. But
Right.
again, I can see them, they can see me, they can meet me. And I can, again, share my story with them and hopefully change their perspective.
Okay, well, I got to go home now and boil my chicken for the dogs and get them all ready. We got two that are 13.
Don't boil it, steam it.
Oh, steam it. Okay.
Yes.
One's got one actually, the little one, she went blind. She got glaucoma,
Aww.
like a lot of these little dogs. So between you and me, I mean, the dog doesn't drive children to school. So I wasn't going to spend $10,000 to have her little lenses changed. So we're giving her drops and diet and the whole thing. But now she's had an ablation. So she didn't have to get all the drops because she's so uncomfortable. I mean, she walks into some things, but she's fine. She's happy now. She's not getting 17 drops a day, but she still does have a lot of skin allergies. She's always itching, and we've changed her diet. So maybe we'll talk about this offline and figure. Even though she's 13, it's probably
it doesn't matter. I've worked with dogs. Absolutely, it doesn't matter. I've worked with dogs 10, 13. It doesn't matter. It's because maybe sometimes it takes this long. Yeah. And allergies are directly related to the gut. So
right, and especially with dogs, right? Yeah.
Well, that's what it kicks off as.
Yeah.
Your dog doesn't have the enough enzymes in his or her body. That's where it starts to kick off, as either it'll start with environmental allergies and then kick off into food allergies.
Makes sense. Well, I thank you for coming on the show. We'll put in the show notes so people can get in touch with you, read about all the stuff you're putting out, whether it's for their pet or for themselves, because I know a lot of people that have a lot of problems with their digestive systems and their thyroids and I told you my wife has thyroid issues since she gave birth. That's really when it started. And then lost her gallbladder and all. Well, you weren't there, so we couldn't do anything about that.
Well, I can still help her.
You have to fix her. Yeah. You gave me her book. You gave me your book. We have that.
Yes. So. Good. I'm happy.
Please
have her read it because I would love to talk to her. Absolutely.
Well,
yes.
Emanuela,
thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me, and have a good weekend. Stay safe and healthy and stay away from coronavirus.
Seriously. Coronavirus is afraid of me, by the way.
Probably. You're the solution.
Without a doubt. Thankfully, I haven't gotten it. So,
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.